Our first guest to watch DA live has to be the one and only Thictator, who's dressed in all green, of course, today because he's 100% Irish. His family's off the boat. Mraz, welcome on this St. Paddy's Day.
Hello, Damon Amendolara. How are you? Happy St. Paddy's Day. I cannot believe I just sat through A's relocation into Sydney Sweeney as Jimmy Garoppolo. It feels like it's May 2023 all over again. It's good to be here. How are you?
I'm good. How many green beers are you in?
I had 7 today. I had 7. However, my last one was at about 4:30. So I've already done good. The kids have been up in a bath. So, Shamrock Shaun here has obviously sobered up a little bit. Can I just add on real quickly? I know we're tight on this rundown. I think Sydney Sweeney is more like the Joey Bats, the Joey Batista Blue Jays here. You can have a couple better deep playoff runs, a lot of memorable moments to fight with Odor. I kind of think it's a little disrespectful to go injury-prone quarterback here for Sydney Sweeney.
Okay, so I guess my question is Sydney Sweeney got staying power? Like, do you think she'll start becoming an actress in major motion pictures for the next 5 to 6 years?
Yeah, I mean, and she had White Lotus. I think she will be in the mix. You will get quite a few. Now, will she ever win an Oscar for like a leading role? No, she won't. She'll probably make a couple really bad movies that are hyped up, and I don't need to bring us back to our spring break days, but that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think ultimately, though, as we know, Sydney Sweeney plays to her hits. And, unfortunately, her hits might drag as she gets a little older.
Hey. Okay. So you have been all over the news this week, and your show's been all over the news this week. I mean, What type of world is it where the New York Post is just writing up your takes now? This is incredible stuff. And it was because
I might have my own beat now in the New York Post.
It's outrageous. Martian had to leave just to step aside so that there was a beat reporter on just the Mraz beat. And so this week you have Tiki going after Saquon, and then you had Ryan Clark going after Tiki. You went after Aaron Rodgers. I mean, it's just one giant pig pile in Afternoon Drive on WFAN. So let us start here. How do you feel as a Giants fan of Saquon leaving? I think I read that you said if it had to happen to anybody, thank God it was the Eagles, which is interesting.
So everybody thought that was an interesting take. I thought it was consistent because, again, DA, we've gone over this bit a million times. Paying running backs after their first contracts is seemingly bad business if you're going to give them big money. So in my mind, if I'm consistent with that take and I see a division rival do that, I don't care that it's my player. In my mind, they're making bad business. Saquon Barkley is going to cost the Eagles next year, in 2025, forget this year, $13.5 million in the cap. So, look, do I like Saquon, the player? Have I always been torn because I didn't like the pick? Yes. I respect Saquon. He's been through a lot. I think he's a little overrated. But it's not going to bother me it's not like he's some kind of Super Bowl legend now that's putting on an Eagle uniform. He represents basically 6 years of disgusting despair and losing football. So if he goes and plays for the Eagles, I mean, kiss my fat ass. Have fun.
Did Saquon sign with the Eagles as a jab to the Giants because they never paid him what he wanted?
Well, first of all, Saquon turned down a contract a year earlier that would have paid him slightly more than the Eagles gave him. So I don't know how he could look at that as a jab. His market deteriorated after that. I don't think it was a jab. I think he simply went where the most money was. And I think Saquon, deep down, this is probably part of why he wanted to be a Giant all these years. He's a guy, a Pennsylvania guy or a Jersey guy, grew up a Jet fan. He has his family here, doesn't want to leave. So the Eagles still represent somewhere very close to home. He doesn't have to move far. His family can still come to the games. So he was able to check that box and get the most money that was going to be offered out there, slightly more apparently than the Texans were offering. I don't blame him one bit. Go make your money, man. If that's where you want to go be an Eagle. If you make a deep run there, then you remembered as an Eagle.
You were in studio when Tiki said, "You're dead to me, Saquon." So what was the context? Did he do it tongue in cheek? Did it come off wrong when it was in print?
Of course he did. I think Tiki has found a good groove where he genuinely cares about everything Giants football from a fan's perspective, but he's also an analyst on CBS. He works with us. He's a former Giant legend who, by the way, sorry, Ryan Clark, is beloved, is invited to every event, including a big anniversary party coming up soon for the Giants. I think that it was very obvious because we talked about it before the show. If this was coming down the pike, Tiki had a little intel that it was definitely going to happen. And it was just the idea of, you're dead to us. But not said in like a vicious way, like obviously, screw you, Saquon. Any Giant that becomes an Eagle, it doesn't matter how legendary you are, we don't care about you anymore. Now you're a Philadelphia Eagle. You're dead to us. And I would think another athlete like Saquon Barkley would see that and understand, like, All right, Teak, I get it. Yep, I'm an Eagle. Have fun with it. So he said it. He didn't say it maliciously. He laughed visually, as we saw in the clip. But all it took was a couple aggregated Twitter accounts putting out those printed words. And boy, did people go off and running. And you really got to see who actually listened and watched the clip and who just reads stuff in print. And you know me, DA, big reader.
Yeah, big, huge reader. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Ryan Clark thing, man, I usually like Ryan Clark, except when he goes really hot takey. This I thought was so off the reservation. I just say you're going to extrapolate from that quote why Tiki's a terrible teammate because he didn't welcome you to a Bible study. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Rookie. What was your take on that? Because you're alongside Tiki every single day and you read his reaction and I'm sure, you have a reaction too because you know Tiki pretty well.
Yeah, and I have a reaction because I was the only Giant fan who remembered that Ryan Clark was a Giant too. So when that first broke, I saw it come across my Twitter before Tiki or Evan did. So I had to listen to my ear. I didn't want to blindside Tiki with the audio and have him react. So little like inside baseball, we went to a break and I listened to it. I was like, wow, this is pretty harsh. So I pulled Tiki and I'm like, look, I don't want to blindside you. If you want to ignore this, this is up to you. But I thought this was kind of out of line. It was the first time in working with Tiki off the air or on the air where I saw like genuine upsetness in his face. Like he was like genuinely bothered, and not bothered like he wanted to fist fight Ryan Clark, bothered by like his heart hurt. Like you could tell this really, really got to him. Tiki, as you know, DA, I mean, we were around him enough at CBS Sports Radio. He is a lot like Ryan Clark in that, like, he's very thoughtful with his words. He's very thoughtful. He thinks about everything before he says it. And I could tell that off the air, like it was like emotionally bothering DA because he really prided himself. And he mentioned Brandon Jacobs and David Deal on being the guy, the veteran with the young guys. So when he sees a guy like this come out and he was, I mean, maybe this backs up Ryan Clark slightly. Tiki barely remembered him as a Giant.
Who would?
Right. He sees this and he's kind of like, dude, you were a safety. I was in charge of taking all the younger guys out. I could tell it was more like he was dying to pick up the phone and call Ryan Clark and instead of really fighting with him and more like, dude, what are you talking about? And I think that anybody now, Ryan Clark is a powerful voice, as you know, that podcast is popular on ESPN. I think Tiki genuinely thought like, wow, now people who don't know me in the football circles that know Ryan Clark are going to think I'm that dude. And it's just another reputation repair he has to go through that is just, for him, upsetting him.
And it sucks because you and I knew Tiki when he didn't know us from a hole in the wall because we were doing overnights and he was doing mornings. So we would cross over at 6 a.m. And from the moment we started, he couldn't have been nicer to us. I mean, he was always down for the cause. We want to do a bit, come on for the show, chit-chat us in the newsroom, laugh at some of the stuff that we did. He was always awesome. So I can't say I know exactly what Tiki was to Ryan Clark or anybody else in 2002 or whatever, but the Tiki that I know has always been awesome to everybody that he's been around inside a newsroom, inside a show, inside a network. So I thought Ryan Clark, that was really out of bounds for him.
And that was perfectly said, DA, because look, it's not a football team, but look, I called myself a locker room leader for years on the DA show. But Tiki, generally, it didn't matter if you were a 22-year-old kid just cutting tape in the newsroom or not. Tiki went out of his way to introduce everybody, learn everybody's names, and he was a good veteran as my St. Patrick's Day sunglasses go flying here.
So you're now officially a Jets fan agitator because
I've leaned in.
When the Aaron Rodgers VP story hits, you go, this is the most Jet story of all time, and that is a big headline splashed across the New York Post.
By the way, is it not the most Jet story of all time? How is that even a story? By the way, thank you, New York Post, but that shouldn't even be a story that's a Jet story.
That's amazing. So now I just see on Twitter, I mean, you are really, of all the agitation that you've provided over the years, Cowboys fans, Eagles fans, Mets fans, Red Sox fans, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. What is this new character you've created?
So it is coming very close that agitating Jet fans is going to pass eating ice cream on my most favorite thing to do list. I just have to own it. I'm not going to sit there and pretend I don't have fun with it. I learned very, very early on when I left you and I was working on the fan, leading into the Rodgers thing, like, wow, these Jet fans are really wound up. They think this is the year. So somebody had to say, are we sure about this? 39-year-old quarterback. And the little nuggets that I started to leave early on in my FAN tenure was like, wow, Jet fans are really emotionally raw. And then, of course, the night Rodgers gets hurt, I hear the news as I'm eating a chicken wing. I put out the video. That was it. From that point, it was all bets were off. I swear to you, I had a bottle of Jameson thrown at me in the parking lot of Jets Giants. As Bob is hobbling behind me, this guy is yelling every F-bomb. My dad is screaming, get back to the bus, get back to the bus. I had that happen. But I've gotten to know Jet fans that know and get the bit, they can appreciate it. But there's a lot of Jet fans where they're easy picking, man. I feel like Tom Hanks in Castaway with the spear and the fish. Whenever there's a good Jet story, I know I got them and I know they'll react.
And they're easy picking right now because they're so emotionally fragile.
Oh, it's like me at a McDonald's drive-thru with the nuggets. You know I'm getting it.
Okay. So you have agreed to join our bracket challenge here. Watch DA Live is going to open up a bracket challenge for everybody listening, everybody watching, and the guests of the show as well. So Mraz is going to be joining us. It's going to be a throwback type of thing. We've done one spicy moment. Now we'll do one sour moment. Mraz is in. Pat Boyle is in.
Ooh.
Bogish is in. I do not have confirmation from Bellotti yet.
Of course not.
Yet.
Of course not. Of course. I mean, isn't that classic Bellotti? What does this entail? What do I got to do? I'm in a fantasy baseball league, by the way, with him now. He was the hardest person to get the hammer down at draft time. Socialite Pete Bellotti, by the way.
Okay. So we're going to do one sour moment.
Yeah.
Whoever wins this whole bracket challenge, they're getting a bottle of high-end booze. Okay. I'm working on the sponsor itself. Okay. But this, not just
more sponsorship here on YouTube that we did at CBS Sports Radio.
No comment. But yes, things are cooking. So we're going to send this. It's not just like from our little group, the winner. It's like this whole bracket. The whole bracket, there's going to be a winner that's going to get a high-end bottle of booze, okay, from one of our sponsors. So Aiden is going to send out the bracket for everybody to fill out this week, okay? So get ready for that. But for us, there's going to be a loser, as there always has to be. Not death by salsa, instead death by sour. Have you ever heard of toxic sludge? It's supposed to be the most sour candy in the world.
I have not, and now I'm starting to get really nervous because I think I was the lone person on the show that never lost any of these bracket challenges, and now this sounds really bad, and I'm due.
Toxic sludge. I've Googled this. It's supposedly the most sour thing on the planet. Whoever loses is going to have to eat this thing. I don't even know if it's gum. I don't know if it's candy. I don't know if it's taffy. I have no idea, but it comes in a garbage can, a mini garbage can. Toxic sludge. Okay.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, nice branding. Okay. I mean, I'm in. Look, I'm absolutely in. I pray that, and by the way, this is why Pete has not answered yet. He's got to look at all the nutrition facts on toxic sludge before committing. But no, if I lose, I'll hammer it out and I'll look like an idiot right here on the Watch DA Live here.
I will post this link for the bracket after we're done on the air here. We're going to do some bracketology with Super Dave coming up here shortly. But people are asking, once they heard that you're going to make the first episode here, Watch DA Live, if there's going to be a Bob's Bar, which is our annual party of all listeners coming to your parents' house to hang out at a bar this summer. Is there momentum for a Bob's Bar this summer?
I can give you the latest. There was a direct quote about Bob's Bar today. I went down the block. My neighbor Chris has an outdoor bar. He was at the Bob's Bar event last year. His brother works for Arizona Iced Tea. They were involved. So anyway, Bob came with me. We watched the Ranger Islander game there today. I had some green beers and stuff. And Chris asked my dad, with Shaun on the fan, it really sucks. There's no Bob's Bar this year or whatever. To which my father responded, and he didn't respond to me. I heard it loud. I got to be honest. I always really looked forward to it. If it doesn't happen, I'm going to miss it.
Yes. So we have indirect support from Bob.
And again, I didn't even answer it. I had my ear out. Oh, that's an interesting answer. And I could tell now the weather's getting a little warmer in the Northeast. The bars are starting to clean up. And I could tell it was a marker that Bob was into. So there is momentum. And I would say the only fear from Nance is going to be all the crazy people that threaten my life that were Jet fans. So we just got to avoid the FAN people.
Oh, that's a good point, man. Now you're making things so much harder because
we just got to,
hate you. And
basically put it this way. You got to travel from at least 80 miles away. I think that's going to be the pace. And then you get the secret address.
Only if you've driven overnight from Alabama are you allowed to actually show up. Okay, so that being said, as we move closer, usually we do this in mid-June. That's been the new date established after last year. We have some time to work on this, but moving forward, we'll have this one sour moment as we move through the brackets, and maybe we'll start to finalize a
Maybe the
date.
payoffs at Bob's Bar?
Maybe the payoffs at Bob's Bar. Ooh, I like that.
Okay.
You can catch Shaun Morash. I can still call you Mraz
No,
here, right?
you can't. You can't. It's like me calling my mother by her name, Nancy. I gotta still call her mom. It's so uncomfortable for you to call me by my real name.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so Mraz, you can catch him afternoons on WFAN in New York. Check him out if you're outside of the New York area on the Odyssey app. And if you're in the New York area, you can watch him as well on SNY Television. That show is simulcast on cable television. So you can watch him dig those fangs, that scepter right inside
Damn right.
fans as he gores them. All right, buddy. Thanks for joining us on this debut episode, man.
I'm happy. I can't wait to throw on YouTube and listen to Super Dave because I have no idea what I'm doing with my bracket. I can't. Later.